So look, I mean, we're here to talk about pathways. Mine has absolutely nothing to do with where I got to today. So in preparing for today, let's go to the next slide. By the way, we're going to have a code. When I need to go to the next slide, I'm going to go like that, and you all go bam, so they know how to get to the next slide. Are you ready?
Bam.
Come on.
Bam.
Okay, good. We're staying on this slide right now, though. So look, I did a poll online when I knew I was coming here. I went Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I said, of all my followers out there and everyone that's reading this, how many of you are in the career that you thought you'd be in when you graduated high school? Not college, not graduate school. How many here think it is 50%? How many think it's 20%? 10%? Less than 1%. As a matter of fact, it was 3 out of 1,800 responses. And those 3 were engineers and doctors. Isn't that interesting? But here's what's even more interesting. Everything was connected. One of the best stories I heard was from my wife's grandfather, who told me a story in 1920 something. He was a caddy at a country club in Boston. Every career move, job, introduction he had came out of his days of caddying. Everything was linked together. He caddied for an attorney who gave him a reference to get into law school. He got out of law school and met someone in another business and met someone somewhere else, and he ultimately ended up, everything chained, daisy-chained together. And it's exactly the same with me. One thing we need to think about in terms of daisy-chaining our careers and daisy-chaining where we're going to end up is what's our limit? What's the most we can do as a human being or achieve as a human being? Some of that's linked to your DNA. Some of that's linked to your physical ability. Were you 300 pounds and 6'4" when you were 18 years old and you got drafted by the coach to be on the football team? Were you 6'9", 130 pounds and could dunk on your tippy toes? Or did you have to work at it? Or were you really good at math? Were you really good at art? Were you really good at storytelling? So what I encourage you all to do is think about what your limit is. Now look, by definition, we cannot all be above average. Makes sense, right? It's impossible. If you want to be above average in anything you do, you have to make that decision every day. Every day you get up and you have a decision to make. Am I going to be ordinary, or am I going to be extraordinary? We're here for a set amount of time on this planet. Every day that goes by is one less day for you to decide that. That being said, every decade is another chapter of your life, and that means different things. We don't expect anyone under the age of 10 to think that way. We have a few, we call them savants. Other than that, you all, at your age, have that decision to make. Let's go to that. Oh. Good. Who's hungry? I'm sorry in advance, because the next few slides that I bring are going to be make you hungry. So look, that's a burger. Right? That's a burger. Who thinks it looks good? Who thinks it looks sloppy? Our brains are trained to look for something brilliant new, something that stands out, something that looks delicious. That applies to everything in life. Our currency today is ideas. Good job. Look, making the perfect burger is exactly the same as doing anything in life. Everything's got to be equal parts, equal ratios. You can't be too much of one thing. You got to work really hard at it. So there's some authors out there that say in order to be good at anything, you need to do it 10,000 times. Have you heard that? Right? Jim Collins said it. He wrote a book about it. Good to Great. Also called The Outliers. I made burgers 10,000 times. Easy. And I probably did it, as my family would tell you, over one summer. where every single day of the week we try different burgers and different buns and different cheeses and different toppings on the buns, different ways to cook it, different beef blends. My kids were going bananas. The neighbors were tired of coming over to eat. But I decided when I was going to start BGR that I was going to do a burger that no one else had done before. I was going to sell a $20 burger for $6. And I wasn't giving up until I was able to put it together. Everybody said no. You never can do it. It can't be done. No one's going to pay $6 for a burger. I'm like, what? It's too expensive. Too expensive? I think they'd pay $20 for it. We opened up the first BGR. Line's around the corner. The story goes from there. When I was doing BGR, I made the decision that I wasn't going to be just an average burger guy with an average burger restaurant. I competed in every burger competition I could find on this planet. Every state, everywhere you can go. I went to Florida and competed against Rachel Ray and Bobby Flay. I went to the World Burger Championships 5 times. I was the youngest guy there, had been in the restaurant business for 2 years, and I won. And the reason I won is I kept it simple. And I keep it simple in everything I do in life, and the advice I give football players is the same thing. You can't get too caught up in fancy little small ingredients here. There's 5 or 6 basic components to every decision you make, and 5 or 6 basic components to any type of success. When you start getting to 20, 30 components, it becomes a mess. Now, taste in food is 3 combinations: salty, sweet, spicy. There's bitter and other things. Those are the 3 basic things. If they're in balance, you're going to like what you eat.
Yeah.
Good job. That looks like a better burger, doesn't it? Exactly. So things are in balance there. And that makes you look hungry. And in life, things in balance always work out for you. As a matter of fact, I wrote down a quote earlier this morning that wasn't on the slides, but it's worth saying. To be great is not a function or circumstance. Greatness is a matter of conscious choice, discipline, and strategy. So it takes a lot of thought to put that together. No one threw that together. You want to be a college athlete, you want to go to school on a sports scholarship, you've got to work at it. And you've got to do more than anyone else. And it is not lifting the most weight. It is not doing the most laps around the field. It is being extraordinary. Waking up and saying, I'm going to go to Pilates today because I'm going to have more extension and better reach than anyone on the field. And it's going to take me a year to get there. You're going to be a better chemist because you're going to spend 10,000 hours in the lab working on a problem. You're going to be a better ballerina. You're going to be a better school teacher. Whatever you choose. Now look, I hated school. I did not like school. I hated school. I had anxiety on Sunday nights when they would roll credits after the afternoon football games that I had school within 24 hours. I got an F one semester in Spanish. And my father goes, you got an F, you might as well not have shown up. I said, good point. I hated it. And I hated it because my brain couldn't keep up with it. It was too many frizzy things, too many crazy toppings, too much stuff going on. I couldn't process it. I'm a 3 or 4 ingredient guy. So my parents pulled me out of public school between 6th and 7th grade. And there were a total of 16 kids in my graduating class. That's a lot of pressure. I couldn't hide. I was proud to be a straight C student the whole way through, coasting. That ride came to an abrupt halt. But what a small environment did for me was it forced me to take risks. I was shy. I was introverted. Didn't have many friends. I wouldn't call myself a leader. I was just kind of going with the flow. And my parents used to say, you know what? The world needs a bunch more people to pump gas. Back in New Jersey where I grew up, they still pump gas. If you ever go visit, you should do that. At least go get your gas filled there, it's cheap. So that didn't really motivate me as much as the fear of failing. And I didn't want to fail. So private school and small classes gave me the format to take a risk. So when they were looking for someone to host the school talent show, no one raised their hand. I raised my hand. And I started a talent show, and I got up there and welcomed everyone. I slipped and fell. Got right back up and finished it. And that taught me that I could take some risks, and I would be okay. Then I started taking risks. I started asking more questions. I started doing more things. I actually started to like school, and I fell in love with biology. Isn't that funny? Biology. In the 8th grade, I had a science experiment flown on the space shuttle. Who would have thought? I entered a contest. I came down to NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in 8th grade, had to present to NASA scientists my theory, and it went. How cool is that? This is a kid that wouldn't talk in front of anybody, and here I was in a room of NASA scientists telling them why I want to learn more about frog eggs in space and what it could lead to embryo formation in zero gravity, like we're going to have people on Mars someday. How crazy is that? That was in 1982. So the lesson here, and what I want you all to think about, and if we try to do anything in these TED Talks, is just take one thing away from what I'm telling you, and I ask you to take this away. Every morning you get out of bed, as tired as you are, and as sleep deprived as you are, you have a decision to make that day. Am I going to be ordinary, or am I going to be extraordinary? In anything you do, you make your bed, you go to school, you come home, and you be extraordinary in one thing that day. And that will take you to different paths throughout your life. What you think you want to do now will probably not happen. But how you do in what you think you want to do will then lead to the future opportunities which will end your book. We are not here forever. Choose your time, choose your passions, and choose your direction wisely. Thank you.